Let's talk about the Super Bowl. The halftime show is being slammed. A lot of people didn't want to see Bad Bunny, especially after his political grandstanding at the Grammys. And here's what WWE wrestler Logan Paul said when asked if he was excited about the show.
Logan, are you excited for the halftime show? No.
He was not the only one who didn't want to watch Bad Bunny's performance. Millions of people switched off and turned into Turning Point USA's rival show. Josh, this was no surprise to me.
Yeah, Gabriella, I flipped back and forth a little bit. I ultimately ended up watching the Bad Bunny thing, and then I ended up watching the Turning Point alternative show after it was over. I wanted to make sure I watched both. Frankly, I would have skipped the Bad Bunny thing, but I need to know, frankly, what was said for purposes of my day-to-day job, which is that of a political commentator. And it was an atrocity. I mean, it's really not performative outrage on my behalf and many others' behalf. I was really, really angry watching that because this is the Super Bowl. This is America's #1 marquee sporting event. I'm a lifelong sports fan, Gabrielle. I almost work in professional sports. I love professional sports. The Super Bowl is it. I mean, it is the granddaddy of all American sporting events there. It is a global, iconic event there. Supposed to represent American athletic competition and American sporting excellence, American exceptionalism on the world stage there. And we couldn't even do it in our language, in the language that we speak. I mean, it was such a massive insult. It was a massive insult to large swaths, at least a plurality, probably a majority of the NFL's actual fan base there. And then to kind of add insult to injury, you had Green Day, which is a notoriously ideologically left-wing punk rock band whose heyday was like 2.5, 3 decades ago. They kicked off the festivities before it all started there. Then you had the Black National Anthem. I mean, what was this? I mean, why is there a Black National Anthem? Well, last I checked, the Star Spangled Banner was national anthem for all of us. So the whole thing, frankly, from soup to nuts, was just deeply alienating and discomforting. And look, I mean, I tuned in, as I said, to the Turning Point alternative event after it was over. I'm a big country music fan. I saw Lee Brice in concert actually for the first time like 12 or 13 years ago when he was a nobody. So it was fun to see him now playing in this alternative halftime show there. I enjoyed it. Hopefully the NFL learns from this. I suspect they probably won't, unfortunately, because Jay-Z is still calling the halftime shows. I think he's on a contract for a few more years. They probably won't learn anything whatsoever there, but it's hard to imagine getting a lot worse than this.
It's extraordinary. I mean, even from where I'm sitting in Australia, tuning in to watch it, that's really not the classic Americana themes that you would expect to get from an NFL game. Alex, what were your thoughts watching it? And of course, I'm sure you're not surprised to see more than 5 million people turning into Turning Point USA's rival show.
I'm not surprised, and I think that Josh is probably a little more optimistic than I am about the NFL's likelihood of improving in the future. I was one of these people that turned off the halftime show. I didn't have any interest in seeing it, but I don't want to overstate that phenomenon. The Super Bowl, as Josh rightly noted, is far and away the most watched event in American life, and not just sporting event, just the most watched event. There's about 130 million people who probably tuned in last night, and that is on par for a non-sporting event, just for reference, with the moon landing in 1969. There's simply nothing else out there, not even close, that gets so many Americans all looking at the same thing at the same time. And so that's why I think the people get sick of having politics shoved in their face. You know, the three of us here on this panel are probably a little weird, but most people just want to tune out sometimes and just watch football. And to have these halftime shows, and it's not just this one, it's every year, focus on getting politics back in a place where it doesn't have to be, that is something people don't like. And we had a poll result that's going to come out in probably 2 days, where we asked, does the mainstream media reflect views of people like you? And 65% of Americans said no. And so last night, when they see something like that, that's what they're talking about. They want to watch the football. They want to watch game and fun commercials. They don't want to watch more politics.
No, absolutely not. Look, President Trump says that he wants to see America become more faithful than it has ever been before. Let's take a listen.
We are going to do something that everyone said, like, that's tough. We're going to rededicate America as one nation under God. You know, a lot of people...
You can hear that applause pretty loudly there. He says religion is essential for a great nation, noting the boost we've seen in church attendance, and he said that there has to be a reason for why we're here.
And I've always said, You just can't have a great country if you don't have religion. You have to believe in something. You have to believe that what we're doing, there's a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it. We're all working and we're behaving. I mean, I behave because I'm afraid not to, okay? Because I don't want to get in trouble.
He makes everyone laugh, doesn't he? Alex, many signs at the moment that religion is really making a comeback. A lot of people returning to church, certainly after Charlie Kirk's death.
There are a lot of signs of that. And so for many years, religious attendance and identification with Americans being Christian primarily has been falling. That has recently started to reverse. And when I see something like this, I anticipate the reaction, the backlash, because that's what I grew up with 20 years ago. But we've had 20 years of going in the wrong direction, in the other direction, of getting religion more and more out of public life in every possible way. Meanwhile, we have this other civic religion, where on the Democratic side, during the Biden administration, we worship trans people. We make room for every other religion in society, but not what Trump said at that breakfast. I think it's great. I think that we need more of these things. There's a little bit more humility from the president, from the country. That can only be a good thing. And we're just a long way off from the country that we were even in the Bush years. And so it was rather refreshing to hear this.
Yeah, Josh, what are your thoughts on what the president had to say? And are you seeing that from where you are, more and more people heading back to church?
Yeah, this is a wonderful message from Donald Trump. This is very much sentiment that I've been preaching in my own capacity as an adult, as a commentator for literally decades now. Shades of George Washington's farewell address, actually. George Washington, in his farewell address in 1796, famously says, I'm paraphrasing here, it's a very close paraphrase, he says that there is nothing other than revealed religion itself, which is the indispensable safeguard of morality from one generation to the next. He's not talking here about this kind of ethereal, amorphous notion of spiritual but not religious. He's talking about actual revealed biblical religion. And that's what Donald Trump's talking about as well at this prayer breakfast there. Donald Trump has been the greatest friend in modern presidential history, arguably the greatest friend in all of American history, to people of faith there. He comes from a historically not particularly religious background. I don't pretend to know what his current worship habits are or whatever there, but he certainly says and does all of the right things when it comes to this matter there. There absolutely has been a surge, to Alex's point, in Americans who are returning to their faith there. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Look, it's the first liberty enshrined in the Bill of Rights. The very first two clauses of the very first round of the Constitution are the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, which are our two religious liberty provisions there. This is the bread and butter of what it means to be an American. We're coming up here this summer on the 250th anniversary of America's Declaration of Independence there, really the symbolic beginnings of the country there. There certainly could be a worse time to recommit to our nation's founding principles than this. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I commend Donald Trump for saying and doing it.